Kevin Axtell is a man of many talents. We cover some of his incredible stories and accomplishments throughout the years. He is a director and organizer of fire drums for 10 plus years and has so much wisdom to share with us in life and in the arts. This is one of my favorite episodes to date. Support us on Patreon for just $5 a month to help us continue this project. Episode 26 coming in hot. Welcome to the Poidcast and enjoy the episode, my friends. Kevin, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Absolutely fantastic. I'm so stoked to be here. Poidcast, let's go!
Oh, shit. Okay, what an intro. That's my favorite intro of all time. Kevin has an extensive background in juggling, flow arts, performing, among many other things. So I'm really excited to get into all this. Tell us how this journey started for you, man.
Sure. I first learned to juggle from a friend in high school, Aaron Stevens, who later went on to become a very prominent juggler with many successful projects spanning continents. Aaron is a legend. And so I was blessed to go to the same high school. Aaron Stevens taught me to juggle 3 balls in drama class. And then shortly after graduating high school, I went to my first juggling festival, the Lodi Juggling Festival, RIP Lodi. And
what year was that?
I learned to juggle in 98 and went to Lodi in 99. And the Lodi Juggling Festival, my passion for 3-ball juggling quickly blossomed to poi. And 3-ball and 2 poi were really the first props that I fell in love with, shortly to be followed by contact juggling and double staff. And so really poi's been a part of my journey the entire time. Mm-hmm. So the learning 3-ball juggling led me to a juggling festival that led me to learn poi and see all this other fun stuff. And it's worth noting, though, that I really identified as a juggler until about 2008, when I went to my first fire drums. And between 99 and 2008, when I would be at events and festivals, I would interact with, learn from, and be friends with poi spinners and staff spinners, all the way back in 2000. But I considered myself a juggler. And it was fire drums, my first fire drums, 2008, when I'm like, wow, like light bulb explosion fireworks in my mind. Like I'm a fire dancer, I'm a flow artist as well, and even equally so. And so that's really how I got my start. A passion for 3-ball quickly led to a juggling festival, which led me to poi.
That's what I like to hear. Jugglers getting into poi and not the other way around. Right. Yeah. All right. Cool. So you went to fire drums in 2008. That was your first year. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Kevin or haven't attended fire drums, Kevin was a director and an organizer for fire drums for 10 years.
Yes.
Now, tell me, when and how did this opportunity present itself?
I would say it presented itself because of firewalking. Now, there was some adjacent, I'm very close to the Bay Area, where many of the fire drums organizers are and or were from. And so I remember I first invited Noel Yee and later Zan Moore to be instructors at an event I ran called Pyrotrania, which was a fire walking event for fire dancers. So there was empowerment and personal growth blended with workshops. And so that introduction with Noel and Zan in this empowerment context brought about the first fire drums fire walk in 2009. And from there was a fire walk every year. And so my door into organizing and eventually running fire drums was definitely through the empowerment realm, because I was a fire dancer too and juggler, but there's lots of those folks around. And so I think that's what magnetized me to them and vice versa.
Right. Yeah. You had a lot more to offer aside from just being able to be an instructor for a poi or a prop or 3-ball. You have a lot more to you and, a lot more depth as far as what you can offer the festival. So how was there any What were some of the struggles, I guess, of being a director and an organizer of fire drums, maybe in the early years or later, closer to when you had retired from that role in fire drums? What were some of the positives and maybe some of the negatives of that experience?
Oh, there were many on both sides. And to quickly think of a few, I think one of them is the public or outer perception of raking money in or making a lot of money. And I never once considered it a big financial effort because it was so little financial return in exchange for so much effort. If you ever were to put an hourly wage to it, it would be pathetic.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't about that. But
right.
Many people communicated with me and spoke of the organization publicly as though we were massively profiting, where everyone who was running it was definitely not. And so, without even over blaming that mindset, that was a downside. That was a frequently revisited theme of being a profiteer when truly my money and time were well spent elsewhere. And on the plus side, the organizational skill set, the empowered, I can do it mindset of first working with and eventually running fire drums was life-changing in ways I could never describe.
I'm sure. Oh my gosh, I'm sure it's just absolutely massive.
Such a valuable skill set that comes with doing it. There are so many things you can only learn by doing it and failing. And so that was a major plus. Another big plus, connections, international connections with many of the most influential and best poi spinners and otherwise flow artists in the world. Many of them who would come to fire drums and stay at my house for a while. And so
that's so crazy.
That led to connections, that led to international travel, that led to friendships and professional boons that to this day are valuable. So that was a skill set. Massively intense emotional work is another. I guess it's both a positive and a downside. It all leads up. By the time you get to the event, you've already invested so much time, effort, energy, passion, blood, sweat, tears. And then during the event, everything that goes wrong or seriously wrong is now yours to deal with. And so on the plus side of that, there's this emotional maturity that comes with and through extreme duress. And on the downside, it can be very hard, hurtful, painful. So many people, I'm sure you've heard a dozen stories of burnout amongst our leaders and organizers. And so that was a downside. I would do it all again in an instant. I had the time of my life. And I still am a low-level organizer with fire drums, and I still go, and it's so fun now. And I think sometimes it's
a lot less pressure now.
So much less pressure, so much more fun, and I actually get to revel in and enjoy what I helped sustain, create, and evolve over many years. And many organizers get burnt out, and to the point where they've soured on the original thing they loved in the first place. And that balance with caring about the work and what you do, but being willing to step aside, being willing to, take hits on your shoulder. You're gonna get hurt. And I think maybe we transition to the next question with that just mindset of leadership and intense effort in the name of what you love. There are going to be people who not just disagree with you, but massively and even often aggressively will come at you publicly and in crazy ways. And it is a trial of sorts that on the other side of it, I think, is a lot of knowledge, patience, and passion. But the path sometimes leads to pain, remorse, and detachment. So walk the line, balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as far as the whole, connections being made, the international travel that you got to do, and all the friends that you made along the way, definitely something to be said for that. And Fire Drums is a premier fire festival in the US. I mean, Fire Drums is
I got to say globally, now that I've been around and I've done the rounds, there's no fire circle like fire drums.
I'm sure.
Period. There are events that are bigger, but there's no circle like fire drums. And I'm so confident in saying that. The intensity and the skill level for the amount of time and the quantity and the quality / vibes are
immaculate. Yeah. Well, Kevin, I have some great news for you. It's going to be my first year attending Fire Drums this June, so I'm really excited. I'm really excited to meet you and see what the event is about. Joey, my co-host, is also going, so we will see you guys there whenever. Whoever's watching this, we will be there. Make sure to say hi to both of us.
Yes.
And can't wait. I'm really stoked. Thanks for sharing so much about Fire Drums. Now, on the note of Fire Drums and on your organization level at Fire Drums, what advice do you have for artists on their applications when they're applying for flow festivals, Fire Drums, or just flow festivals in general?
Yeah, great question. I have a lot of advice, and I think FAI did an interview with me at some point. It's like on the website if anyone's interested, with a more thorough counsel on applying to flow festivals. But since you asked, one of which is prompt response. Many, if not the majority, of flow artists will respond late or at the very, very end. And when a prompt response comes in, it often is seen by one or more organizers early. You're in their head more. It cycles through. It's a way of quickly demonstrating, I want this, I am in. And if you do it at the very end, as many are ought to do, you are one in a big number. Whereas if you do it early, you're there in their front of their eyes more readily and often. So that's one. Two, interact and engage with their social media with a giant exclamation point. If events, right, small group run events, whoever, recognize the supporters of the social media. It is not the only thing that matters. And I've really enjoyed that debate. Like, are influencers better special guests? That whole argument aside, if you interact with their social media regularly, like, comment, and share, you are already endeared to them. You have rapport with the event, and it is an easy, free, indispensable way to boost your chances. Take the time on the applications. That's part of doing it early. A last minute application I've gone through. I literally have no idea how many applications I've sorted through. And there are things that are notable. This person, can I cuss?
Yeah.
This person has their shit together. That person doesn't. Now, that's not an automatic no. We've had many a person who didn't have their shit together, and I will continue to do so because often, the art, the inspiration, right? But that's another thing. The thoroughly, right? Filling out your answers in complete sentences, basic grammar. It's true.
I know you're giving some great insights
links. Here. Have a link tree. Get a free link tree. Here's all my links in one place that is easy to find. That's another one. And then, I could keep going. There is an interview FAI did with me at some point about this subject. Maybe we can find it. But those are my top ones right off the top of my head.
No, that's great. And that's definitely something. I was on my way over here driving. I was driving over to the interview today, and I was thinking, what questions do I have for Kevin in terms of like Fire Drums and what advice that he could give us. So even just the short couple answers, that was very insightful, and I'm sure that folks can learn a lot from that. But yeah, if you're curious, go check out the full interview. Obviously all of Kevin's information will be listed in the bio, so go check him out. Check out all that wonderful stuff.
I'll try to be modern and fancy and link the interview if I can find it on my link tree.
Ooh, that would be sweet. It's like cross promotion.
I would like to take a moment to congratulate both of you gentlemen on coming up on a year of the Poidcast, over 20 episodes with the global leaders in Poi. It's a real accomplishment, and it shows drive, care, passion. It has informed me about poi in ways that I hadn't previously been, and also inspired an appreciation for the art on a new level. So both of you, thank you.
Makes me want to cry, man. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. It's been a hugely just overwhelming in a lot of ways experience. So lots of growth, lots of trials and tribulations, lots of times where I've been pushed to grow better as a host. Joey's been challenged in a lot of ways on his end as far as the tech goes. He's put in a ton of work behind the scenes. And we both have had, huge roles in it. We both have kind of assumed roles going into this thing. So we really appreciate that. And coming from a 24-year veteran of poi, that makes me very happy to hear that, we have inspired you and taught, maybe given you some insights from some of the amazing guests that we've had on. So
definitely.
And take a time, if you guys are watching this episode, take a moment to see how many episodes we have and how many amazing guests that we have had the opportunity to have on. So there's tons of episodes to go back to. So thank you very much for taking the moment to appreciate us and the project, man. We really appreciate that. Nice. Now, a topic that I've been really excited to get into with you, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. You are a master firewalker instructor. So you have had an enormous influence and impact on fire and flow festivals around the world with your firewalking. So tell us about what makes this such a special and important experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, well, and I'll try to really connect it to poi and the flow arts community specifically. Firewalking is at its core a personal growth exercise. It's an empowerment activity. It's an exciting, slightly risky ritual with profound metaphor and symbolism woven into it. And I think at a very surface level, it brings in personal growth and empowerment to flow festivals by way of the vehicle of fire being the connection. Flow festivals, fire festivals, essentially often one and the same. And so them being fire artists, the natural draw to firewalking. And so that's one level, is because of the shared affinity for fire, it's a natural invitation for firewalking to be a part of fire flow and fire festivals. Mm-hmm. And there is a nice tradition of talks at flow festivals and presentations or discussions around social issues and other stuff, techniques and performance. But it often is either in the social justice realm, excellent, great, more of that, or the technical knowledge and skill realm, building an act, developing this, and marketing that. And so firewalking is almost more akin to something like yoga in terms of it's about personal wellness, it's about personal growth, but it's more about facing fears, tackling, challenging, facing, moving through adversity, difficulty, discomfort. It's a empowering activity that's exciting and appeals to fire dancers. It has had a huge impact on my life. I can't overstate
clearly
what it's done for me and helped me and what I've achieved with and through it. But it's just also amazing and fun and gratifying to bring it to the community. And I'm very thrilled, very pleased that many flow and fire festivals, first around the country, now around the world, have firewalks with people that I've trained and or inspired through people I've trained. And so I love to see it. I love that it's integrated into fire and flow festivals in a very real way. And I'll just keep working hard for it. Another element to it is it pays more than fire dancing.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
I'm still a professional fire performer. The rates compared to, and I've been fire dancing longer than I've been firewalking, the rates don't even compare.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a professional vehicle for not just me, but other people as well. And it's an opportunity, whether anyone ever makes money with it or not. When people learn about it and teach it, it's very gratifying to share. It's like a reason to listen to a teacher. You know, all of us, you have valuable lessons. I've heard them come through naturally during episodes of the Poidcast, tremendous wisdom and insight. And so as to it, everyone has that kind of specialty and insight and knowledge. And so the Firewalk is a nice platform to get people there listening to you, and you can share a message because they're listening because they want to not burn their feet. It's fun, exciting, empowering, challenging. It's challenging to lead Firewalks with any consistency, but it's changed my life and many others. And it's a great, and now I think consistent part of the flow and fire arts community. I love firewalking.
It is, yeah. And the first time, well, my first flow festival that I went to was Kindle 2022. Nice. Kindle 2022, and they did a firewalking event there, and it was beautiful to watch. And I am a little bit ashamed of myself that I did not participate in the first one.
Oh, but no, trust your intuition.
Yeah, I will do it. I will do it. Fire drums this year, so I will do it this summer. I am game. This interview has made me definitely pumped about it, and I will go and actually make it a priority. So I'm pumped to get into it. Yeah.
And if anyone listening is interested in learning more about firewalking or teaching it, you can check out my link tree, which has the firewalking link. Briefly, I'll point out that firewalking is the big, broad brush title, but there are many things we do like glass walking, board breaking, and fireboard breaking. People snap arrows, bend rebar. It's all of these physical empowerment challenges that are designed to create this intense experience of overcoming, facing fear, empowerment. We say it helps people redefine who they are. I was this person, now I'm this person, capable of that much more.
Beautiful.
I love it. Talk to me about firewalking. You'll have my ear anytime.
Okay. Yeah. And you do teach, you actually teach classes on how to run a firewalking event as well, right?
That's right. The FIT, Firewalking Instructor Training, is an amazing 3-day course that I've been leading for well over a decade, about 14 years. It's an intensive. It is meant to train and teach others to lead the activities. And then you walk away with the certification and doing what legally is known as your due diligence to learn how to present a dangerous activity. It's exciting, empowering. I love it. This year, I'm doing one with Grant Harris of SoFlo, and the Southern Illinois crew is organizing a firewalk instructor training as part of his journey toward a mastery credential. And so he's one of my more experienced and advanced students and is on his journey. So we're doing one in SoFlo during the eclipse. That'll be interesting. And then my next one is in December. It's a big part. It's one of my favorite things I do every year. The firewalking.
That is so cool. Yeah. What a staple in the community, and what a great event for people that to participate in when they're attending these things. We can get into that more later if it comes up, because obviously it's a huge part of your
There's
story.
So much poi to talk about.
There is some poi to talk about. So we'll get into the poi. I want to watch. Joey's going to pull up the 5 videos that you sent us as far as your favorite videos of other people spitting poi.
Nice.
So I'm excited to see what you sent in. I briefly glanced over and I saw some favorites. So I'm excited to see what you got.
Intentionally first.
A very underappreciated guy.
Yeah, my first true poi inspiration, without question. And I was blessed to get to hang out with many people, but Utah, absolutely, and to this day, a top poi inspiration in my life. My style, well, perhaps not as crisp, I'm not going to give myself too much credit, is inspired heavily by Utah. I spin 2 poi. There's almost no tosses. I try to use poise and stance, but just the legend, Utah.
Absolutely. Someday I need to try to get, I've attempted to reach out, but some people are a little bit hard to get a hold of. So,
Sure.
but he's an absolute legend, and one of my earliest inspirations as well. I started spinning in 2007, and Ýūᴜ was dominating back then as far as poi videos online goes. He was definitely one of the original masters of the modern style of poi, for sure, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, and I'm just loving it. I'll watch it again and again. The stance always really stands out. The footwork, musicality. I know the music isn't on here, but whatever. If Ýūtaa's doing a routine, it's well done to the music.
Absolutely.
And there's a humbleness there, and I would call it a reverence or a respect. And a lot of high-level poi is kind of intense and happy and excited, and it's like go. But this is simultaneously patient with the ability to explode into speed at any time, which shows a high level of focus and skill. So yeah, there's a respect, there's a reverence, there's a lack of, I won't say lack of ego, but there's a lack of over ego.
Yeah, and his ISOs and his speed changes are one of the best parts about his style. Is definitely his ability to slow down and speed up things that makes sense. And
truly
in all of his videos.
Speed changes has been a staple part of a lot of my manipulation, and it's definitely inspired by Ýūᴜ.
Yeah, fantastic. He is one of the cleanest fire spinners out here, and it's really awesome how long he's been at it. I mean, he has the staple trick. I think one of the cleanest 4-petal flowers.
Oh yeah, that had to have inspired hundreds of people to learn anti-spins. I mean, come on.
Yeah. You don't see it done better than that. That trick doesn't get done better than that. There's just no way to improve. Like, in my opinion, when I see that trick, that's truly perfect and mastered. He originated my style, or like a lot of the sense of my wanting to learn that trick and that style of spinning, because that was very much the earlier days of spinning, and a lot of people got inspired from that video and that style. Now this is another video that doesn't get watched as much. Extremely excited to talk about
that makes me feel old, because back when this came out, this was the video we were all just watching and googling in that song. I don't know if that eventually got clicked on for a copyright, but this video, and you know what's a funny little side note? I remember at first being like, it's all wood. Is he crazy? But now I've been around and I know how they do it in other countries, and it's like no big deal. He's fine. But I remember being like, wow, look at all that. He's so overly safety conscious. Not that you can be overly safety conscious, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah, clean, steady, unexpected stalls, poised, just nice. Very clean,
very, very, very clean.
Yeah.
So why do you think this video was so prominent in the earlier days? Like, why do you think that people really latched onto this video?
One was the timing and level of skill, and where those intersect. And you're talking about a time when tech was beginning to really happen, and that is combination of tricks, stalls, techniques, flowers, wall plane. I like that little, he could have cut that out. I like that little moment of humanness. I remember being inspired by that, his calmness, right? Your poi wrap up there on fire behind you, and he's just like, it's all good. So that's one of it, is when it happened, combined with the fact that he had a lot of these great moves that were only recently popularized. The calmness and control, right? The calmness and control. He is comfortable. He is smooth. Another one is the musicality. I can't remember the name of the song, but it was that you can on the devil's whatever that song was, is a sweet song, and it went really well. And so the beat kicked, the tricks were smooth. Look at those extensions. He's calm, cool, and comfortable. He's at the head of the technical combos level of the time, and it's just kind of like
and this is 2009, and I think even back then, for me, I didn't see people doing one-handed spiral wraps on fire, or even really pretty much at all. So I think like some of the tricks, definitely he was at the forefront of the tech world with Poi, absolutely. And this is, I mean, 2009, it was quite a while ago, and Poi looks much different now. Yeah. This is very much embodying an earlier style of spinning, much like Yuta, you know?
The look is pretty badass. He's got the gloves and the black pants. He's barefoot, you know, in what looks like a tropical environment, perhaps. Yeah. And, you know, he's all toned and stuff. So it's pretty sexy look overall.
Totally. And he was, what I was about to say is he did some tosses in that video too. And during that time, the loops were very popular. The loops
I know, loop. Such savage times.
Yeah, I know. I will never spin loops ever again. But yeah, what a different time period. And then in contrast, we have one of my greatest inspirations in the Poi community, and just a great friend of the channel and a great friend of mine. We have Cassandra Smythe.
Yes.
And this is an incredible video. We love Cassie very much. So tell me why you liked this video so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. This video transcends just being about props. This is a complete work of art in that. And as the video progresses, you'll see the props and the outfit match, and they match the backgrounds, which are not just, you know, gritty, but gritty in a way that matches the outfits, and the filter on the colors matches, and it's all got this what I would call big picture intent. It's an artistic vision. It's not a display of tricks, nor is it a routine. It's a montage, but I think it's like a complete work. And Cassandra always does that, both as a graphic designer, as a spinner, as a creator in general, and so it's fun. It's well-rounded with videography, background, well-framed, outfit, poise match. Like, it's all this big vision, and Cassandra just kills it, not just with Poi, but with staff and clubs as well.
Oh my gosh, she's so talented, you guys. It's crazy. Massive. She is so talented, not even just with Poi, but like Kevin said, with her staff juggling and her club juggling is incredible. She is such a talented and hardworking juggler. Yeah, and the style. Cassie's always had the coolest, like, not only just Poi style, but clothing style, and the way that she dresses and the way that she puts together videos. Like, it's that Oakland vibe, for sure.
West Coast. And then just recently, 2023, last year, threw down Cascade of Stars droplets with Poi representing hardcore. So absolutely.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Cassie with all the work that she's done with IJA and all of the major accomplishments. Cascade of Stars is a massive accomplishment for anybody, but let alone a Poi juggler and a Poi spinner. I think that's huge for Poi people, Poi spinners, to be able to be involved at that level, in that in that high caliber of a show, you know. And I think it's just makes me very proud as a Poi spinner, and so absolutely love that you threw this in here. And her Poi juggling is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's really so good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I hope to be as good of a Poi juggler as Cassie someday. She definitely inspires a lot of the patterns that I'm trying to work on right now. And
she definitely inspires my artistry, my videography, my framing, my pre-thought, my costuming, and of course the Poi juggling. Like, that's why this video is here. It's above and beyond a standard prop video. It's a work of art that revolves around Poi.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's really awesome that, you know, you sent in so many old school references, like 2009, 2011, 2007. Like, you definitely have some older stuff in here.
Yeah,
and this is the only, you know, in recent years that was done. So I think that speaks volumes about how special that video was. Now we have an all-time classic here, Nick.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The fun, feisty Fire Poi. Fire Poi has been a big part of my Poi journey in so many ways. You know, I do glow Poi and I love regular Poi, but Fire Poi is my jam. And so this, and it really ahead of its time, even that stall with the atomic hybrid body wrap is just steezy.
It really is.
Yeah. legend. I'm sure anyone listening to this already knows that. And of course, if you haven't heard it, listen to the Poidcast with Nick. Amazing stuff, but absolute legend, huge inspiration. No list of my Poi inspirations would be complete without it.
I 100% agree. Nick is, I've, said many things over the course about him over the course of this podcast. But yeah, truly he is one of the most inspirational, if not the most inspirational Poi spinner of all time in terms of reach and the amount of people that he inspired to start spinning Poi and start spinning fire. And definitely he's in the same category, I would say, with Yuta in terms of early Poi spinners that were just incredibly clean, and Nick just embodied that to a T,
Yeah, absolutely. I
way ahead of its time. And thank you for shouting out that episode that we did with Nick. We did do an episode with Nick Woolsey. Go check it out. It is in our playlist of episodes, so definitely give it a watch. And finally, to round it out, the last video that you sent in, one of my favorites and a man that I will be having on the podcast very soon. So stay tuned for that. Ronan McLaughlin, the inventor of contact Poi.
Of course. And specifically this video, because not just me, but we, friends and I, just watched this many, 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 many times. We were contact jugglers. So already this ISO stuff, we're like, yeah, more of that. And, at the time, these were new. This was all like, oh, nice. And so I had also gotten to take a Ronin workshop in Fire Drums, I want to say 2009. And so, how when you have like a personal connection to what they're doing, you're like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we did. Oh, yeah. Like it hits a little deeper when you were there going, oh, well, yeah. And then see the application. So the movement, the stops, the stalls, yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, and Ronan, in many ways, I have to pay so many respects to him, because my style largely revolves around contact. I absolutely love contact Poi, and like I said, the originator, the inventor of contact Poi, was such a visionary. And it's so funny to look back at some of these videos. Obviously, they still stand up to this day, but you can just see how much has changed since this time period. It's so great.
Insane. I remember when that first video with his contact Poi came out, and the waves of that moment ripple to this very day. Another thing I wanted to mention about this video is this is at a time when I'm starting to do acts and do stage acts. In and around these years, I've been doing several juggling festival main stage acts, and usually I'm doing clubs, but I spin Poi all the time. And my sense of Poi was much more like, oh, it's got to be fire or glow at best. So this was mind expanding for me, that he is on here doing quality work, getting a great response, looking good with day Poi. And that was a click, and that's the reason video is in there, in addition to his extreme additions and contributions to Poi in general. It's that this moment here made me realize, like, I can put anything on stage.
Absolutely. That is huge. Yeah. And I think that's a wonderful insight as far as somebody performing with day Poi, or now, contact Poi is typically how it's commonly referred to. But yeah, and Joey's actually, I'm just going to let Joey play some of your Poi videos here, and we can talk about.
Yeah, these will be pretty quick.
Yeah.
If I have a specialty in Poi, if I have an area of knowledge and unique contribution in Poi, it's no longer my spinning tech. I'm 43 now. I try to keep up, but the kids are way ahead of me. But it is in special effects Poi would be my specialty. That includes smoke Poi, charcoal Poi, sparkles on snakes, and special effects. Because often if I am performing Poi, there is some degree. And so this is a fun Poi. I love the two-handed spiral wrap. He's all, it hurt. I'm like, well, why'd you do it?
Totally.
I like it. It's intense. You can't do it too close to audiences. It smells like sulfur, and yet it's so fun and beautiful. It's real-time trails. You don't get that with anything. Real-time trails. And so as a pattern enthusiast, I really like that. It comes with a lot of downsides: the smell, the expense, it can stain clothing. It's tough to breathe in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, this is my invention. These are feather fan poi. Ooh. And attached to these natural feather fans that are made with a plant wicker are poi handles. And the directionality of the fans really help it in the right orientation as it spins. So this is my 4th ever set. I think in this video, this is a while. I've probably made 10 total sets my whole life. It's quite a thing. It is a creation of mine, and I used to just make them as dance fans, and then I attached poi one day, and it worked instantly and perfectly, and it's in and out, and it's special, and it's unique, and I did it, and I don't know, it's just work intensive to create to the degree where a price point for it to be worth my time to sell them it's not there. But this is one of my finest poi innovations, feather fan poi.
Ooh, and you have some threes. Okay.
Yeah. And so I hope that this outlives me. But at present, I'm the only one who owns them.
Well, hey, so hopefully somebody comes across this. And
I have no attachment to this idea. I would literally be overjoyed if someone made feather fan poi. And if you happen to tag me, great. But use the idea.
Ooh, the juggles. That is so cool. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. So I have a pair right up here in my office. They're really special to me. You know, I had what I would call profound and insightful moments through the creation and use of these props.
What a well-rounded juggler and flow artist you are. You have so many unique parts about you, and we have more to get into, but wow, look at these
sparkles. So these are a smaller set of snakes with an intense amount of sparkle powder, and this is an average performance burn for me. This is probably my current mostly used performance poi rig, is these snakes with a ton of powder. This wasn't a performance, this was a jam at IJA, but it was recent, and I thought it personified generally how I like to spin poi. The longer snakes a little less wieldy, but these smaller snakes, I'm loving smaller sparkly snakes.
I love that you say that they're a little bit more versatile, because man, sometimes like spinning and primarily juggling snake poi is just ridiculously difficult, because there's so many patterns that I want to do spiral wraps with. I'm like, I'm not doing a spiral wrap with that, dude.
And stalls always.
Ty Roachford, shout out to Ty Roachford. We
this is literally last night, Patrick, and so I was like, this is literally last night as our jam. I've been working with medium amounts of slightly tighter steel wool, so it doesn't all explode at once, and I'm starting to get there. You see how there's a consistent glow,
right?
And so that's kind of my end goal, is to get these like layered steel wool wraps, so little picks and stuff comes off. But literally last night at our jam.
That is so cool. Where are you based out of, Kevin?
I'm in Sonora, California, which is in the Sierra foothills, essentially directly east of San Francisco, up into the mountains, and the closest point of reference for most people is Yosemite.
Awesome. And that's so cool that you have a local jam. So important for people to have, folks in a community and people to jam with. It's massive. It is so important.
We've grown and nurtured the community for many years, and we call ourselves the Phoenix Fire family, and we hang out. Sometimes we perform together. We are just a great little community, and for a mountain town, really high level, large group. Charcoal poi, of course, a classic, and I usually try to go mid intensity, like you can really ram these up, but to where you're like bathed in it and you need a
and that shit hurts, dude.
Cloak. But this middle range stuff, is what I'm currently into. And this was only about 2-3 weeks ago, I think. Nice little pop there. So I shared those videos because if I have something unique, oh my gosh, I don't know if we want to watch this. This is 6 minutes of craziness.
That's
I did this series of stuff called a Glow Tech Vlogs. Back when tech vlogs were the jam. This is, if you ever have time, the weirdest, wackiest, shape-shiftiest, multi-poi thing that I've ever done. And honestly, to this day, I think it holds up in terms of concepts and innovation. But it's 6 minutes. It's overdone. It's dark and low quality. So I don't know if we should keep going.
That's okay. We can go ahead and go on to the next. But
it's weird though. If you ever have the time, Patrick, 4 or 5 minutes in, it's nuts.
I'll take your word for it, Kevin. Now we do have a couple more things to get through, but
no hurry.
I want to touch on we can get through this last one on your poi spinning here, but you have such a unique talent and a unique, I'll say, subset of skills in terms of fire magic. Now, how did this come about? When did this journey start for you?
Great question. Probably about 8 years ago. And this video, just as reference while I talk, isn't a fire magic video. It's a fire poi video, but I'm happy to answer the question. Fire magic came about 8-9 years ago, and the moment of inception in my mind was actually at Fire Drums. And this guy, who I don't know his name to this day, older fella, came up to me, my second Fire Drums, and was big-eyed, and I had just burned, and he was like, "That was incredible. You got to throw wontons." And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he proceeds to describe this fire magic effect that is a small, little, tiny flash paper packet with sparkles. And he describes it. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. He's like, oh, I wish I had some. I already burned it all. I don't have any, but you got to try wontons. And so 6 odd months later, that same year, I bought some flash paper on a whim and some cotton, put a little split titanium in there, tried it first try, and it worked. And I was like, oh. And so that was like my inception of fire magic. And I quickly realized that it did several things for me. Oh, nice. Some fire magic videos. Yes. One, it reinvigorated my practice in general. In other words, right, I'd been spinning double staffs for, 18 years, but now I'm looking at double staff in a different way with what sparkles can I do? What effects can I do? And now I'm looking at torch juggling. It invigorated, enlivened, and inspired my practice. So that's
what is that, Kevin? What is that?
That is what's called a phoenix tail, and that is a scepter with green flame.
Dude, that's unreal. What a flex of a fucking prop that is. Holy shit.
So fire magic ignited, inspired, and uplifted my whole prop manipulation practice, essentially. It also helped to set me apart. Fire magic, there are a lot of fire performers. I'm from California, where there's a fire performer at all the events, and everyone is at least familiar with it. So it made me different, noticeably unique, special, whatever you want to say it. It gave me an angle. And I often like to joke, because I'm 43 now, and I'm still use props every day, and I'm physically quite fit and comfortable when it comes to juggling and spinning. And yet I know that my best days of prime peak physical manipulation, I'm either at them or they are behind me. And as I get older, it's not so much about staying relevant, but staying in the game. Trying to push a boundary somewhere is a healthy part of being involved in something. And so the path of integrating fire magic and fire dancing has been this hugely inspiring thing. I started by just wading in, but I dove in the deep end real quick. I now train with regularly international superstar Jeff McBride is my fire magic mentor. I've been training with him since February 2020. I have a crazy amount of DVDs, and I consider myself a collector of fire magic. And I have a whole big downstairs room of a ton of fire magic. So I'm researching it, I'm collecting it, I'm performing it, I'm teaching it. I love fire magic, and what it's done for my fire arts in general can't be understated.
So that is so interesting that you've been really plugging in that way. And I just, first of all, I want to say how much I appreciated hearing, you saying not so much to stay relevant but to stay passionate and to continue working at least on something. And so as far, I know that you have worked with David Copperfield. How in the heck did that happen? What was that experience like? How did that experience
was massively legendary. And because of my fire magic connections in Las Vegas, and I can't and won't go into specific detail, but I consulted with David first via Zoom and then in person on some fire magic effects for a very special thing that he was doing. And so I was referred to him as a fire magic expert because he had a question, and first had a couple meetings after being connected by my mentor. And then I got to go see his show, go backstage, try some of the stuff I was teaching him, and then eventually get a tour of his private museum, which at the time I didn't realize is significantly rare and very special opportunity for anyone. And it was profound experience to witness, be a part of, and have that perspective on the level of execution, performance, focus, clarity, determination. I can't be understated. And so
that is so wickedly cool. Yeah. David Copperfield, you guys, holy shit. That's so badass. Oh my gosh. So you have your resume is crazy. You have tons of stuff to get through, but like, just to list off, because I asked for a bio, just everybody keep in mind, I asked him for a bio because I knew that you were so involved in so many different areas in terms of festivals and props and juggling. Like you're definitely a guy that I was like, who is this guy? Like I had to learn more about you. So when you sent over your list of your bio, right? I'm going to read off some of the names here. So Kevin has worked with Usher, Pepsi, Jeff Goldblum, William Shatner, Mythbusters, David Copperfield, like I said, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, the Discovery Channel, countless news segments around the country, among many other things.
Yep.
Any of these things, I would love to hear. What is up with the Usher thing? What happened there?
Well, Usher was doing a Hold My Pepsi campaign. And he would be like, it was an international campaign. And so he'd be doing this crazy stuff, and he'd be like sort of a play on Hold My Beer, like Hold My Pepsi. And then he'd go do something amazing. And so we got contacted very short notice, as often the commercials and TVs are, to do this big firewalk on the beach. And at the time they just said with a major star. We actually didn't know who it was until we got there. And so, yeah, we did this massive firewalk, kept coals running forever. And it was a huge effort. Usher was really cool and very gracious. Funny story. He walked the fire himself once.
He didn't.
Yes, absolutely he did. And it was a decent fire, but there was a foot double as well, because they take a ton of shots. And so they need to set up the shot. And so someone had to walk the coals over and over while they set up the shot. And so there was this foot double that showed up for the firewalk. Amazing experience, very gracious, kind. He really enjoyed throwing logs into the fire because we had to keep a fire going for hours, and the fire was too hot to be near. We just were chucking logs, and he was like, yeah, and got in there. And so that was an amazing experience. High level stuff, exciting. It's one of those things, the call comes and you're like, you have a week and a half, and you're like, oh my God, you say yes, but you're absolutely terrified.
Of course.
And it all went off the hook. And it aired internationally for a year, but not in the US, actually. But it's on both my website and my Facebook page. Actually,
I'm gonna go watch it. I'm gonna go watch it. My man Kevin got Usher to do a firewalk. Like, that's just so fucking legendary, dude. Holy shit. Okay, that is really
I should point out too, my wife Brandy, it was her and I who did that firewalk. She deserves a lot of credit because that was such a huge challenge, and Brandy came through like an absolute champion, and is worth mentioning at that moment.
Oh, shout out to Brandy. That is really, really cool. And then on the Mythbusters thing, what was that about?
That was one of my earliest media things. They wanted to do like essentially bust the firewalk myth. And so it was 2 parts, and I was involved in the first one. They asked us to organize a firewalk, like a classic public one, and then they would come up, and Carrie and what's his name? He recently passed away. The other guy, not Dan, but the 2 younger, the mini busters, the 2 younger ones came out and witnessed our firewalk. Didn't walk on it, but filmed it, watched the speech, give temperature readings, and saw it. And then, this is the part we were not involved in, they decided to recreate it on their own. And even though we were told them you should do it with a certified instructor, a trained person, we watched it. We can do it. So they literally did a firewalk for Adam on their grounds and burnt him good. You can watch it. It happens because they did so many things you're not supposed to do. They had 0 training, and so it was a funny experience. And it was one of our first ones where our mentor Tolly got to come and do most of the interview, but it was our firewalk, and we're on there a couple times.
That is so badass. Wow. What a huge list of accomplishments. I'm just going to keep asking you about these things because I'm actually so curious.
Fun.
What about the Discovery Channel? What were you doing with the Discovery Channel?
The Discovery Channel is kind of a 2-parter. One is they did this fire walking / rituals and magic type of situation where my mentor Tolly Burkan was prominently featured, and so we helped create some of the walks that were used on the close-ups and the shots and things like that. And then also, I think, Mythbusters was the Discovery Channel. And then there's even another one that was a rites and rituals that asked us for permission to use a pre-existing clip that aired on a rites and rituals episode on the Discovery Channel. So a couple different ways on the Discovery Channel.
Oh my gosh, that is huge. So many incredible accomplishments. And the last one I really want to ask you about, what was the Amazon Prime thing?
That was recent. That was there's a show in Sweden called The Parneviks. And it's like our version of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. The Parneviks are a famous Swedish family in all their media. One of them is a championship golfer. One of them is an actress. You know, they're this famous family. And so they've had a few variety shows. And so very recently, I think it was coming up on a year, pretty much 1 year ago, Amazon Prime contacted us, said, we have this show. They want to do a firewalk. They went to a Tony Robbins event years ago and they didn't actually do it. So they flew us out to Florida, and I got together with Jonathan Taylor, an amazing poi spinner, and firewalk instructor JT. And we put on a firewalk at a kava bar and did this whole thing for them. And the only downside is you have to use a VPN, a virtual private network, to watch it because there's an Amazon Prime Sweden site, essentially. And so, but it was working with and through Amazon Prime.
That is so badass. All these opportunities that have presented themselves to you because you have been a staple in the community and just such a professional in so many ways. And it just really speaks to how, just how dedicated and motivated you are and how knowledgeable you are about so many different things in the community, and primarily the firewalk. That is so badass. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Joey here in a moment. He's going to go and ask a question that we had a fan write in.
Oh, cool.
This is one of my favorite segments. So, and
All right, Kevin, I have 1 or 2 questions for you. Let's see. We'll go with this first one here. This one's from @CircleCityFire. They asked, what is the most interesting fire prop you have created?
Interesting fire prop I have created. Ooh, I like this question. One of them is fire books. It's a co-creation with my good friend Jesse Johnston, but we have now made many and improving quality, really cool fire books, the likes which you can't buy, and far outclass anything that's commercially available. So fire books. 2, fire rattle. Fire rattle is so cool, right? I'm in a firewalker, and so it takes a ritualistic thing, and you add sparkle powder, iron powder, and you shake that rattle, and it's making noise.
That's so cool.
Sparks are flying off of it, and
I love that.
It's not skill or tech centric, but it's energetic, it's attitude, it's theatrics. So the fire rattle, and then ooh, there's so many. A third one and final one that I have created is the let's go with fire art easel, another co-creation. Jesse Johnston, the fire art easel. It's your classic painter's easel, but it has pyro materials all over it, and wick and colored fuel and flash products and sparkles and steel wool, and it
how creative.
slowly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so those would be my top 3 choices off the top of my head.
Awesome. That's so cool. How interesting. I'll ask you one more from the same Circle City Fire. They asked, what is your most sought after experiment? Something maybe you'd like to create.
Sought after experiment. That is a great and perplexing question. And I would have to say, I have this vision of a continuous flame act where it is a blend of small fire and candles and fire magic and fireballs and larger props like the sword and some poi and various things. But the idea would be the flame is constant and always has a creative transition. So it should be start with a candle, and I would take the flame off the candle and light a small ball, and the ball would then hand over and light into this, and that would light to a poi, and it would involve all these creative ways to extinguish that one while you light that one, so that the flame grows in increasing quantities and is always present and is literally energetically connected to the first fire. I've noticed in some cultures like Australia and other Eastern cultures, there's a neat reverence to the flame itself. Like, often Flow Festival fires are just lit to keep people warm. But if just imagine, if you will, the organizers starting together with a single flame and taking that flame to each of the fires. And so that not only those campfires, but all the props lit off of them are connected to this fire lineage.
I love that.
And so I want to do something like that in an act, a 5 to 8 minute act.
That's so cool. I love that. Thank you so much for answering those. Yeah, so much insight. So so creative. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Patrick now.
So, couple closing topics for us here.
Sure. And before we dive in, I got to bring out, because I brought him my desk poi. I'm ready. I got some and I had a question here. I know you show a lot of videos. Has anyone spun poi on the Poidcast yet?
Actually, no.
Yes!
Actually, no. That is our first.
Yes!
Dude, he has desk for you guys. That is so funny.
Nice. So be the first tiny point. Love that.
All right. So I want to turn over to you for some closing thoughts. Maybe it could be really any kind of closing thoughts that you have, including hopefully your biggest inspirations in the poi community or just in the juggling community abroad, or whoever you want to give a shout out to.
Shout outs. All right. Well, we already had the shout out to Cassandra. We already had the shout out to Utah as big inspirations. I want to shout out Rovo, Chris, for the pyro poi wizardry. and pushing the boundaries of fire and poi. And there was a moment to this day that inspires me where he had charcoal poi with multiple types of charcoal and some smoke grenades and some powders. And so there's just this like magical blend of charcoal poi. And so pushing the boundaries, always inspiring me with things. And also an idea that came to me through JT, but originally from Rovo, was this idea of doing charcoal poi, but with copal or incense or cedar or something that has a ceremonial, ritualistic, you've seen the religious things, they're swinging that metal thing around, like taking poi and merging it with ritual, like so cool. Such a neat idea of casting space, or whether it's cleansing, clarifying, or whatever, even if it's just the theatrical smell, because charcoal tends to smell. And so now with the incense, it smells good. So big shout out to Rovo. Massive shout out to my wife, Brandy, who's also a fire poi spinner. She's often the star of the show with massive sparkly snakes and other props. Brandy is my absolute inspiration, muse, and love of my life. And then my two mentors in life are Tolly Burkan, my firewalking mentor, and Jeff McBride, my magic mentor. And far above and beyond just teaching me mastery of those individual skill sets, what I've learned about life, physical and mental and emotional health, relationships, and business cannot be overstated. And so, especially to the younger viewers, I think formally seeking out a mentor is life-changing and extremely, extremely valuable. I mean, I got to shout out *ʱjuggler, right? For just taking it all to another level and looking good doing it. The technique of a Eastern European circus star with the finesse and artistry of a French juggler, all blended into a great guy pushing the bounds every day. So got to shout out *ʌ. Got to shout out Wojciech for so many things in the community, performance, and event world. I'm hoping to get to Rose Touch this year. And I could go on and on. So many people have inspired my flow arts and poi journey, and I wish I could remember them all, and I'm just sure I can't. So my wife, my mentors, and those top poi inspirations would be the shout outs.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had so many wonderful people in your life to just connect you and help you grow in many different ways. That's just quite a long list, I'm sure. So, and as far as the you recommending younger folks seeking out formally a mentor, I think that's something that I would really benefit from. And I think that's just a fantastic piece of advice there.
Truly,
Kevin, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all the wonderful pieces of wisdom and advice, man. Anything that you have to say, we can go ahead and close it out. But just thank you so much for being a guest here and helping us continue the project and just being a huge wonderful piece of the overall scheme of what we're doing here for the podcast.
My pleasure. A quick additive note to the mentor thing: getting someone who is good at, able, and has your permission to critique you is absolutely massive. And I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say often I do a thing, I have a performance, I do my thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, you did great. Oh, that was so good. Oh, great job." It's like coating your ego essentially, and telling you how good it was. But the growth is in the person who can sit you down and say, that was a shabby effort at costuming. That last time that you did this thing, that was better. And we often we don't want to hear that. But when we give someone permission and it's their job to critique us and we are able to maturely handle critique, game changer. The next thing I'd say to everyone is to seek out personal growth. I don't care if it's firewalking. I don't care if it's self-help books or your morning motivational YouTube video to rock music. Water your garden of emotional, psychological, and mindset health. Consciously go out of your way to learn things, to put yourself in inspiring situations. And that's a different thing for so many people. But seek out personal development. It's so easy to get wrapped up in our job and even our art, but not try to grow and push ourselves. And I think that is a big part of longevity. Many people in this world, poi and flow arts, burn a little too bright, a little too fast, to put it in fire terms. And a slow, steady burn will last longer, especially if it's mixed with and includes personal growth, any kind. Let's see. Just checking my thing. Shout out to Battle Night, which is a project that I worked on through the pandemic with Unicirculo Laguna and the Mexican club juggling community, live on Zoom, club battles, b-boy-esque, very fun. I do want to shout out Dragon Tales, which is a prop that I make. Tiny little hand dragons. It's a passionate hobby of mine that I make and sell and have a blast with. Anyone interested in connecting with me further in any number of ways can do so with my link tree, which I'm sure the podcast will share on some point. Congratulations again, a whole year, an absolute library, an encyclopedia of poi and flow arts knowledge and culture and inspiration. I am honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, Kevin, you're exactly the perfect guest that we're looking for. And I can't wait to meet you at Fire Drums this summer.
Yes!
I'll say what's up. You guys say what's up to us there. Hopefully we see you there.
I'm going to give you a one IOU a poi burn in the circle.
Okay. All right, my man.
Yeah.
Close it off. Episode 26. Thank you so much, Kevin.
My pleasure.